Hang in there.
That Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Welcome back to another episode of The Smylie Show. It is a Monday in mid-December, so we're going to do maybe less of topical golf analysis conversation, some big picture topics here. If you are watching this on YouTube, you'll see me, Charlie Hulme, proudly wearing my Drake Maye North Carolina Tar Heels jersey. And then you'll also see Smylie Kaufman looking at me with, I don't know, disdain, disgust, any number of those emotions.
Yeah, you got it. You got a good read.
We're basking in the glow of the Bill Belichick era at the University of North Carolina. And I can't even begin to tell you, because this is now, we're 2 weeks into the first time we talked about this on the show. I never thought this was actually going to happen. And now, as at time recording, this just got announced last night, and I could not possibly be more in on the Belichick
You were
era.
so out 2 weeks ago. You were so out, and you even tweeted like you have receipts, which I need to you probably already deleted it, but if you haven't yet, I'm gonna go find it. You deleted it, didn't you?
It might be deleted. Can I present my case to the jury or to the judge or whoever I'm pleading my case to here? Here's what really got me is because at face value, you're like, this is absurd. Is this a cash grab? Is this a leverage play? And then he had that appearance. You're hearing more and more rumors. He had the appearance on Pat McAfee where he's talking about he's developed this 400-page organizational Bible that gets tailored or changed, whether he's talking about an NFL franchise or a college football program. Like, he's worked on this thing for years, and he is going to revolutionize this program. He's going to make the University of North Carolina football program an NFL factory. Like, he's already talking to 2 uncommitted 4 stars in the 25 class. He's going to bring in here.
We go.
The number 1 overall quarterback in the 26 class already talked today about how he wants to meet Bill Belichick and come here. Like, this is going to be we're going to just churn out NFL talent here in Chapel Hill. And here's the other thing, which you and I had a good laugh at, is prior to this life, prior to my life as a PGA Tour radio producer, my good friend Tate Frazier and I, both of us North Carolina alums, had a little fun podcast called Football School. This was during the Mac Brown era. It was Sam Howell's 3rd year. We were ranked number 10 in the polls preseason, and we were going to become a football school. So we wanted to create a podcast to chart this sort of journey we were going on. That season did not go too well, but the first guest we had on this podcast is a guy that Tate's done a number of shows with, Mike Lombardi, who just so happened to have been hired as Bill Belichick's GM, as part of this whole the program, the sort of structure Bill's putting in.
I've listened to Lombardi a ton on
VEASAN.
On VEASAN, yeah.
So Mike came on the show, the first episode we ever did, and just talked glowingly about when he was working for the Cleveland Browns, he and Bill Belichick in like 1992, and they were doing draft scouting. It was like terrible weather, middle of winter in Cleveland. And they made a trip to Chapel Hill just to get a room with the Carolina Inn, start doing some scouting of all the players in the triangle. And they said they loved it. They're like, why doesn't a coach come here and set up this program and win football games here? Like, it should be easy to do that given this sort of climate and this how special this place is. And he said on this interview, he's like, I would do the recruiting coordinator job right now for free. I'd give up all these jobs and do this job. And here he is 3 years and change later. He's the GM of the program. Bill Belichick's the head coach. It just feels like it was meant to be, Smylie.
Yeah, maybe so. And I hate to. I'm going to continue to be contrarian to the Tar Heels, just so we're so high. We need to find our way to the middle in all this. I feel like with North Carolina, and I'm going to start with the 400-page document that you're talking about.
Yes,
this will be my first thing I'll say about the Bill Belichick reading through the lines of this whole deal. There was a famous coach, a national championship winning coach that also walked into an office with a plan of how he's going to change the future of this football program. This coach went by the name Ed Orgeron, and he showed up with a binder. This binder.
Okay. But he did he or did he not win a national championship, Smylie?
He did. And
that's all we need.
And everyone has always wondered what was in the binder. And I think we've joked about, it's like a whole chapter on how to eat gumbo, a whole chapter on how to eat
Pictures
chicken
of
off a
Kaneka
stick,
sausage,
a whole chapter on.
I mean, but let me ask you,
tackling a tiger and riding them around.
Let me ask you a follow-up question there. How do you currently feel about Ed Orgeron?
Well, he left LSU in a really bad spot, but it's like one of those deals. I think we kind of sold our soul to the devil type of situation for 2019 to have the best team of all time. I still am humming off of 19. So I don't know.
And I guess from my perspective, I mean, listen, if Bill Belichick won an ACC championship, we haven't done that since 1980. If he got us into the college football playoff, and if we somehow won a national championship, I mean, he could literally set fire to the entire facility the next year and nobody would care because we would have that title. It would be completely fine. And I think for a lot of people, the other part of this is part of the reason why I love Carolina so much, Carolina football, is we are a content factory. Like everything we do, whether it's highs, whether it's lows, it's always interesting. And this follows in those footsteps. No matter what, whether or not we win or lose games, I mean, I hope we win games. This is going to be such a fun ride. The spotlight of the nation is going to be on us.
There you go.
If you thought Deion Sanders and the Colorado fans were annoying, you just wait. You just wait till we fire this machine up.
And he really has shown his ability to recruit college kids.
He's got people who would do that for him, Smylie. That's why he sits at the top of the program, and he's got people who could go out. Here's all he needs to do.
I'm talking about his girlfriend, man.
Oh, well. Yeah, I mean, she's the first lady of Carolina football, so I only have good things to say about her now. I mean, all he's got to do to recruit is get one of those like Crown Royale, the little bags it comes in, just throw his Super Bowl rings in there, give it to his son or his assistant and say, just go show that to Johnny 5-Star, see what he thinks about that. Do you want to play in the league? Would you like to, win Super Bowls? Come here. We'll get you there.
I don't know, man. I don't know if he's ready for the baggage of what college football has become. It doesn't matter. Like if he's, I mean, maybe they're really good at evaluating talent and you have the money to bring in guys, but also here's another part of the negative I'll give you. So let's say X player shows up to North Carolina and they spend however many years there and they don't, they're not on time. They do everything not the NFL way. I mean, I guess any coach would probably say that to a GM or a coach, but Bill Belichick's weight carries a lot. But the other way of it too, I guess, if you have got a really good, an underrated player, he could really sell people on him getting drafted. So I guess there's two ways of that.
Oh, that was my internet. I'm sorry. I lost you there for a second. Hold on. Okay.
I totally lost you, but I was like, it wasn't me.
It was me. It was me this time. I'm getting throttled. Wait, so you were saying, finish the last, you said, what, how'd you end your point? You're saying something about being underrated.
I'll start over. I'll start over. All right. Well, that's enough talk about North Carolina football. What are we talking about today, Charlie?
I'm going to keep all that in. I'm just going to edit this whole, because I think this all fits in the motif of the show. We had, first of all, we played all the hits right there. We had too much talk about college football on a golf podcast. We had internet issues. Surprisingly, me, not Smylie this time. And we had trying to hit the eject button as fast as possible from something that Smylie didn't want to talk about. So we're playing Smylie Show bingo right now. We're done talking about Carolina football for this episode. I'm sure it'll be a key part of the show going forward a number of different times, especially after we win a national championship. But let's continue to talk about some of the greatest to ever do it coming off of Bill Belichick. Let's talk about Tiger Woods.
Hold on. Just thought about something.
Okay.
Who is a better jersey, North Carolina or LSU? Like full uniform.
Ooh.
Because like this is legit debatable.
Yeah.
Sorry. As we were about to get into golf, I'm sitting here looking at how great that jersey combo is. But I tell you what, man, when LSU gets out there in those It was,
and look at the I've got the throwback here. The throwback here too. I mean, I think they're a great like 1-2 punch. Because sometimes the Argyle gets too like candy ass, I guess is the right term for it. And then you go to the stripes, you get hard nose. Like you really need to punch a team in the mouth.
It's the white helmets, like with the baby blue. That's the look.
Yeah. I mean, I'm biased. I think Carolina blue and white and the little navy kind of accents is the best color scheme in the world. But I will say, I love LSU's uniforms. I really love LSU's uniforms and I love Florida's uniforms. I think those are.
What about Michigan?
Michigan's too much. It's just overdone. It's like it's also it's in the same vein as like I've seen enough of like Notre Dame's uniforms.
You know what's also overdone is Maryland's helmets. That's overdone.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you're talking about overdone, I don't think Michigan's overdone. I think it's actually Michigan, USC, North Carolina, LSU, Florida. That's kind of like my group.
I guess what I'm saying is Michigan talking about how great Michigan's uniforms are is overdone. Same thing with Notre Dame. Yeah.
You know what I'm selling is Ohio State's. I think their helmets, like the stickers,
the Buckeyes.
The stickers are so tacky to me.
Did you see there was a lawmaker that is going to try to make it a felony to plant a flag in the middle of Ohio Stadium? But like, by the way, like people are just completely got rage baited by this guy. This is never going to pass. It's the most hilarious move you could do in the wake of. We didn't really even have the flag planting debate on the show, so I don't even know where you stand on it. But I think it's so funny that this guy.
I'm so against it. I'm so against it.
You know, I hate to say it.
I wouldn't. All you have to think about is if it was your team, would you like to plant your flag in the midfield? And I say no.
And we were part of the scandal on the big weekend of flag planting because as we lost to NC State again, and JJ Jones took that flag and just javelin threw it about 40 yards in the other direction after they tried to plant it midfield. JJ, I love you, buddy. I think. I think it's just so stupid, and it's like, why are we letting this sort of thing happen if it's just immediately going to result in people fighting and suspensions? It's just the dumbest thing ever. Just go celebrate in your locker room, dude. Like, just do whatever you want. Just do it over there. It's just inviting controversy. Why do you all of a sudden you win the game? That's great. Happy for you. The people who say, "Oh, if you don't want to plant the flag,
go to the
lose
locker.
a football game." Just go to the locker room.
I think about 2019 and all the. Like get the gat. Like I don't know if you remember that song, but everybody get back in the locker room, and the problem is, you take on the identity of your team, your coach, your players as a fan. So like, when you're leaving the stadium, everybody's getting the gat. It's
dude. This is amazing. Now we really need to get off this topic because we just hit another Smylie Show bingo. We're now the old dads that are like shaking our fists at the young kids who are planting their flags.
I know.
Yeah.
In 19, leaving the Super Bowl, not the Super Bowl, the Superdome, I should say. We were playing Clemson in the national championship.
Superdome's the best. What a great place.
It's a great time.
What a great place.
I'm leaving it. I mean, I had a good time at this football game. Just absolute day. And was on low energy as far as just what I had left to give. And so, of course, SKC's, big stairway with, the poles that you could potentially hop and slide down.
I know the exact one you're talking about.
Hopped on that thing.
Tried the same thing.
I've done this 1,000 times, and boy, oh boy, when my back hit the stairs, it was a collective, ooh, everybody that had heard and seen it. And that's what Pop said. I think it's time to call it a day. And I said, you're right, Pop.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. It's
Squirrel
fair.
Man.
But it's Squirrel Man. Shout out to the Squirrel Man, who also razzed me a little bit on the text messages last night.
He's not a Carolina guy. He's actually just a contrarian to anybody other than LSU.
I love it, which I love about him. I mean, you got to be
so
like that
hot
for your
and
team.
bothered with men's grill talk. I think he really
so good.
He over the last 40 years of his life, I think he's really just had enough of Alabama football talk, and I think it just carries over into every other team.
It's got to be a tough place to be if you're an LSU guy and you're living in a state where all anyone wants to talk about is Alabama football or Auburn football. I mean, I get it. I understand his frustration, and I love that he's in there like a cornered, wounded animal in the men's grill, just throwing out Bayou Bengal takes. It's great for the Squirrel Man. I will say, let's say Brian Kelly gets his act together and he gets LSU in the mix in the SEC next year. He gets him the CFP, and we're going to be there. That's just a given, right? If we get matched up, we're going to the game, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We got to do some content. An LSU Carolina, it's going to be redemption for 2010, which still that game was stolen from us.
Yeah, and Jackson was going to sit right next to us and film our reactions, and so we don't get copyrights.
Jackson's currently watching this back and edit and just shaking his head.
Saying, are they ever going to talk about golf?
Let's talk about some golf, Smylie. Why don't we? Because the thing that you and I have kicked around, we touched a little bit on this last episode. It's been sort of the hot topic du jour in golf right now, thanks to Ben On's Fuego take at the end of the Hero World Challenge. Is just going back and doing some comparisons of the brilliance of this most recent season, this 2024 for Scottie Scheffler, and looking
where's it rank?
Where does it rank against Tiger 2000, and then one that I think is highly underrated. And you brought this up, and I'm glad you did. Is 2004 Vijay Singh. I'm going out on a limb here. I'm not asking you to co-sign this take, but of all the foils that Tiger Woods had in various stages of his career, whether it was like, David Duval early on, or like Phil Mickelson or Sergio Garcia, maybe in the mix there. I always thought Vijay was the best Tiger Woods foil, and really was the only guy who, put together a season like he did in 2004 at the height of when Tiger was playing, elite golf. I
think that's why we remember it so much.
Yeah. So here's the first nugget that I'm going to give you to set this conversation up. This was wild to me when I looked this up. So we talked last week that Scottie's total on-course earnings this year totaled $55.2 million. And someone went back is a Golf Digest article, I think it was this last summer. And it's rough equivalence here. This is not exact, but basically took the winner's payout or the purse, for various positions for all of Tiger's 2000 finishes and connected them to the 2024 version of that event. So Tiger earned $10.7 million in 2000. And if it would have connected to the way they would have paid that out in 2024,
$10.7 million in 2000, that is absurd.
So adjusted for inflation, that's a lot more, right?
Oh, you don't say.
He would. We're not an economics podcast, but I can tell you that much. He would have earned $92.3 million on the course if those purses in 2000 were the same as they are in 24. Connected to the events
he won 63% of the potential purse money. I mean, so like if you look at the big pie chart that the PGA Tour had that year, all 100% of the pie takes 63% of the total that he potentially could earn, and that's what he did.
It's truly insane. It's also insane that like if 10.7 million or whatever, because I think that there were other events. He played the Johnny Walker, he played the EMC World Cup. There's some like non PGA Tour events, so I think the on course earnings were like a little bit less than 10. So
Tiger, we're friends, by the way.
You guys are buddies.
We're buddies.
Booth, like
we're hanging in the booth. By the way, Handshake. Just so you know,
how was it?
This guy's got some mitts, and he's got some really strong hands.
Real putter there situation.
It was a hey, how you doing, buddy? Said my name, which was huge. That was big. Didn't have to introduce myself for like the third time, and he won the battle of keeping the grip strength that extra half of a second. So already sitting down, I was like, dang, just big dog me right. He's the big dogger. And I just got big dogged right from the get go.
That would have been the only thing better than him saying your name. Like, good to see you, Smylie. If he said, good to see you, big dog. Like if he big dogged you.
Oh man, if Tiger big dogged me, I don't know what I would have done. I would have just been mute for the 25 minutes that he was in the booth.
You just turned to the cameramen around you, camera women, and said, "Did someone get that?"
Dan, you got to take this.
That's all I need. That's it. So that's the highlight of my career. I got big dogged by Tiger. That's big phenomenal.
Big dog. Okay, hold on. Where are we going to draw the line of comparison here? Because where you could go back all the way to Byron Nelson, Bobby Jones, and say, well, those, when you look at it, I mean, Bobby Jones won all 4 majors. Byron Nelson won 1 million times. But I feel like for us with Scottie Scheffler, needs to be a modern game, maybe comparison.
Well, and that's why we've selected the 3 players we have. And let me just read to you their straight up resumes on the course, right? So Tiger in 2000 played 20 events, 20 PGA Tour sanctioned events. So 22 if you're counting these extra 2 wins. So made 20 of 20 cuts, had 9 wins on tour, plus the win at the Johnny Walker and the win at the EMC World Cup. He won 3 majors. The only major he did not win was the Masters. He had 4 runner-ups, and he had 17 top 10s of the 20 events he played in. Truly insane stuff. Scottie in 2024, 19 times on tour in events that qualified. So made 19 of 19 cuts. He had 7 wins on tour, plus the win at the Olympics and the most recent win at the Hero World Challenge. He had 2 runner-ups and 16 top 10s of those 19 events he played in, which is also absurd. And then Vijay in 04, I think, is an interesting one to look at because he just played way more than Tiger and Scottie did. He played in 29 events. He made
29 events?
29 events. He made 28 of 29 cuts, had 9 wins, 2 runner-ups, and 18 top 10s. And of course, in there, Scottie won 1 major, Tiger won 3 majors. Yeah. And I actually... I need to look at
top 10s. That's absurd. I'm also reading too Vijay's average of 2.339 strokes gained tee to green that year has only been topped in the ShotLink era by Tiger in 06 and 07. I'm curious actually now where maybe Scottie fit in that because he potentially would have maybe beaten Vijay in that.
And Vijay won just the 1 major that year, the PGA in
right.
04. And was that a playoff? Chris DeMarco and Justin Leonard.
Was that at Whistling?
That was at Whistling Straits, yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Right.
Whistling Straits has had some great majors.
They really have. And the Ryder Cup there I thought was compelling as well.
It was.
Yeah.
I love watching Whistling Straits. I think those par 3s are just phenomenal on the lake.
Yeah, I think it's a type of golf that mixes like that sort of Midwestern landscape and charm, and then you're there on the lake, and it feels very linksy. I mean, it is a links sort of test. But it's and it's the same deal as like just the sandhills type of terrain. It's just really, really compelling golf, and that the size of the ballpark being big, I think is really cool. So it's a fantastic venue.
Well, why don't we just have some notables too when we kind of break this down, just to kind of give a little bit of context. So I think it'd be interesting, not only talking about Tiger and Vijay when it comes to comparing Scottie, but why don't we go 1 generation back and look at Arnold Palmer and look at Jack Nicklaus, just to put a little perspective, as like most of our listeners are very familiar with the modern game, very familiar with what Tiger did, what Scottie has done as we've just watched it. But I think maybe the folks that grew up watching Jack Nicklaus and grew up watching Tom Watson and Arnold Palmer, maybe because I think it's hard to disagree that maybe the depth of the talent wasn't there, but the names of some freaking absolute legends, Jack Nicklaus being, the most comparable figure to Tiger Woods, as well as Arnold Palmer being the game's, biggest figure. And he had some damn good seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and this is not to dodge your question in any way, shape, or form, but I think there's like, it's not the fault of a Arnold Palmer or a Jack Nicklaus that they played in the era that they did, and some of what they did was foundational groundwork. So that in the same way that Tiger laid a lot of groundwork for the generations behind him to succeed, and kind of set precedents that became norms on, in the professional golf world. That's what Arnold and Jack did in their own way. It's like the same thing, like looking at basketball, like the evolution of the game of basketball. At one point they're playing a game, with like wilts where like there isn't 3-pointers and, you can't dunk at certain points, and the game evolves. You have like a Magic and a Larry Bird and, and then Jordan, and it's like comparing Jordan LeBron, I always feel like is a flawed exercise because it's just two different styles of games, and LeBron does stuff that Jordan never did, but he benefits from everything Jordan did to revolutionize the game of basketball and take it to the point that it made where LeBron enters the league and plays a different version of pro basketball. So I think that's why, and there's even a disconnect between the generation Scottie's currently playing in and the equipment and the type of competition. Then, Tiger and Vijay they're teetering. Those years they had are in the very early years of modern equipment, right? The modern golf ball, the first iteration of the Titleist Pro V1, moving from persimmon woods, actual woods to metal woods for the first time. Like it's in that first 5 to 10 years post that sort of golf technology wave. So it's just a different time.
I guess why we always talk about Tiger is because there was talent and the dominance that he showed, and he's clearly was doing something that nobody else was doing. I guess what I was referring to maybe in that, from Arnold Palmer to Jack Nicklaus to Trevino, that they each had years in which there was dominance. And so I think when we look at today's day and age, it's like, all right, Xander Schauffele won 2 majors this year, but how many wins did he have? Like there is multiple players like Jack Nicklaus, like Arnold Palmer, Trevino that won 2 majors in the same year, but also won 5 times. So when we talk about Xander's huge year and why we're not mentioning Xander Schauffele's career year, it's that it's been done before that. Players have won 2 majors in a year, but also they've won 5+ times. And I think when we go to compare Scottie's season to all of the greats, yes, the wins were there, but not getting that second major is where I think you kind of draw the line of how good of a season. Yes, it was, but when you look at history and how we're going to judge this season, it's not going to stop. I don't think he can stack in the top 5 because of, or even the top 10 because he hadn't won 2 majors in that year.
Well, and let me ask you this then, because if you look at how would you, I think we all agree Tiger 2000 is the standard, right? And no one's going to sit here with a straight face and try to tell you that Scottie 24 is on par with Tiger 2000. Looking at those different resumes between Vijay 04 and Scottie 24, which way do you kind of fall on that? Because
Vijay 4, I would probably say that the amount of times that Vijay played definitely, there's more of an argument of how many, the percentage of times you teed up and how many times you won. I would probably lean towards Scottie because of his, just his overall dominance in the game that year where, I would say that probably Tiger that same year in 04 was probably played the role of Xander a little bit more. Maybe not winning quite as much. I don't know how many times did Tiger win in 04?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I can get it to you quickly. I tend to agree with you as well there. I mean, I think that for Vijay, he earned, so in 04, we just talked about Tiger earning $10.7 million in 2000. Vijay earned $10.9 million in 2004. Yeah. So maybe the purses have started to increase a little bit as a knock-on effect of Tiger's brilliance.
Don't you think the major has a little, what major it was too plays a factor? Vijay winning a PGA versus Scottie winning a Masters to me, not that majors count any differently. I think that it's maybe even more difficult to win a PGA than it is a Masters because there's less guys and you play the same course every year and it fits a certain style of player where, the PGA goes around but I think we talk about the Masters of, man, that's the hardest one to win. But also I think it's the easiest one to win for guys that have already won a Masters. So it was his second Masters, less pressure, already have a green jacket. I don't know. There's holes in both sides of that, I guess.
Yeah, here's Smylie again making the Scottie Scheffler horse for course argument. So just want that noted.
What was that in regards to? I'm trying to remember.
That was the last time we recorded where you jumped on me when I started to suggest that Scottie plays better at places he's already seen once or twice or won once or twice. Are you calling Scottie a horse for course?
Oh, I was not going to let you do that. And I will say that you kind of just planted that on me, even though you slightly kind of put words in my mouth there, but I'm here for the comeback on that.
I'm just encouraging people to go back and review the tape, and you can clearly hear that that's what Smylie's insinuating. So Tiger's 04 season, he was fourth on the money list. Definitely a down year. He only won once, did not win any majors.
Okay, then never mind.
He made 19 of 19 cuts, 14 top 10s, and 3 runner-up finishes in 2004. So I mean,
Xander had a much better year than 04.
By anyone's standards, I mean, a phenomenal year, but still, obviously off his pace. Yeah, I just think that for me, I think the brilliance of Scottie too, and this is even going back. I'm trying to remember if this is I think maybe last year when he still won Player of the Year, where even putting as poorly as he did, he didn't finish worse than top 12 for an absurd run.
I think it was the Open where he just missed, but it was like close.
That's right. And so for me, I think his brilliance is just in his consistency. And so to look at this year and say 16 of 19 top 10s, not missing a single cut, he's always in the mix. And then that's why the putting thing is so interesting. It's like, does he putt bad? Okay, it's probably a top 10. Does he putt middle of the road? Okay, he's like in and around at top 5. Does he putt good? He probably won by 5 shots. I mean, that to me is and for Vijay, I mean, again, a really, really good year. You earn $11 million. No one's calling that bad. But, 18 top 10s and 29 starts is like, a little north of 60% in terms of, versus like 16 to 19 is like, 85% or whatever it is. So I would give the nod to this season for Scottie over Vijay in 04 as staggering as what Vijay did in 04 was.
I guess my biggest hole in Scottie's year is the major championships. He was in contention at the Open. Xander, had the Sunday and was able to run away with it in the end. But the PGA will always look back at this major season and think, man, the PGA, he should have been there up in contention and finished T8. And then US Open is an anomaly where it's like, how did he finish T41? Like, what happened?
I think we're going to look back at that whole police in Louisville situation as an insane sliding doors moment, because I think that the way Valhalla was set up where you could take it deep, and Scottie obviously has the game to do that. And he still finished, I think, wasn't it like 7th in this PGA or 8th?
Yeah.
And that was with everything that happened, with him getting arrested. That was with Ted Scott taking a day off the bag to go to, I believe, his daughter's graduation.
So much going on.
I think, honestly, if that whole police situation doesn't happen, I do believe Scottie Scheffler wins that PGA. He has a second major. Xander doesn't break through that glass ceiling and win his first major.
I don't think he wins.
You don't think Scottie wins at Valhalla?
No, it wasn't a good venue for him. It didn't require, a guy to be able to play in firm conditions. I just think it was an execution test, and it wasn't overly complicated and difficult. And I think where Scottie's at his best is when the golf course becomes more and more challenging. And I think most people can agree when you go look back and look at the numbers of how low everybody went at the PGA. Par, it felt like, was 67. That's not a major championship. You would say it was perfect for Scottie. So I don't look back at that and say, man, he would have definitely won that event. Now, if it was a different venue that was very difficult and challenging,
like Oak Hill the year before,
right. And had gotten off to a good start like he did, I would say, I think we can maybe look back and say he should have won.
I say it more that it's an interesting moment in that, let's say he does win that tournament and Xander doesn't win his first major. Does Xander feel as comfortable coming down the stretch at the Open Championship a couple of months later?
Gosh.
You just never know.
If you haven't talked or listened to our podcast with Xander Schauffele yet, it's worth going to listen to the PGA Championship and the Open Championship, just the lead up to the PGA, and also trying to figure out how to sort through that Sunday leaderboard at the Open. So go listen to that one if you haven't. And
really, yeah, really, really good listen. And we talk about his dogs and moving to Florida. And, it's funny. I had the same thing happen to my dog in Florida last year, those toads. If you're moving to Florida and you have a dog, beware of the toads. You can really do a number on your dog.
There's I guess when I just look at this and want to just kind of leave people with pondering their own thoughts, golf.com, I just pulled this up, had done a kind of a point system of how to calculate who had the best seasons in golf. And so I just want to kind of read to people the overall top 15 so they can make their own decisions on the game, of the history of the game, and then maybe where you would slot in Scottie's 9 worldwide wins, I guess, this year. So bear with me here, as number one is not surprising that it's Tiger Woods, 9 wins, 3 majors. Byron Nelson, number 2, 18 wins, 1 major. Bobby Jones, 4 majors. So that if you're not familiar with Bobby Jones's story, the 4 majors at that time in 1930 were considered the U.S. Open, the British Open, the U.S. Am, and the British Am. There you go. Number 4, Ben Hogan, 5 wins, 3 majors. Number 5, 2006, Tiger Woods, 8 wins, 2 majors. You're starting to see a theme here with the majors.
Yeah. Yes.
Arnold Palmer, number 6, 8 wins, 2 majors. So now I'm already starting to do the comparison game with Scottie. It's like, all right, 9 wins, 1 major. Arnie in 62, 8 wins, 2 majors. Ben Hogan in 7. This is in 1948. He had 10 wins and 2 majors. 8 is Jack Nicklaus, 7 wins, 2 majors. Arnold Palmer in 9, 8 wins, 2 majors. Number 10, 13 wins, 1 major. So this is where the line is kind of made in this article, is that, okay, where does somebody slot in with 1 major championship? And that's Ben Hogan with 1 major, but 13 wins, right? So that's in 1946. So a couple more I'm going to read is Jordan Spieth in 15 at 5 wins, 2 majors. And this is where I get into, okay, you can compare Jordan Spieth and Scottie Scheffler's season. I think most would probably say, like, you would take, I mean, I guess where would you slot Scottie in with that? Because he almost won 3 majors that year.
Well, and I think probably if you're listening to this podcast and you're a golf sicko, like you haven't forgotten Jordan Spieth, the beginning of Jordan Spieth's career bursting onto the scene. Because I remember that vividly. And it was like, this guy's the next Tiger Woods. Like, he's going to be the next Tiger Woods. And then, of course, also, injuries, things like that, swing changes, things like that happen. And Jordan's still a phenomenal player. But at the 2015 Jordan Spieth, people were making similar comparisons to Tiger Woods as we're doing right now with Scottie Scheffler. So I feel like, and I think a lot of guys would take the 2 majors and the 5 wins rather than the 9 wins in a major, just because it's a legacy thing,
Yeah.
And I think, the wins are nice, of course, but and especially in today's day and age where we have 2 different professional leagues, and I'm not, saying it devalues those wins, but it's like, okay, what are the things that are the most important? It's like, who wins those 4 tournaments every single year, and so I'd say that it's.
I think it sets us up to when we talk about Scottie Scheffler for next year. We've already talked about in our last episode that Scottie probably needs to prioritize his schedule around the majors. But when you look at this in a whole, all of these, incredible, famous seasons that are historic that I just read out, it sets up what the discussion should be about Scottie Scheffler next year, which is if he's going to back it up and have another historic season, he's going to have to win 2 majors in the same year.
And I think, and that's a perfect, because the last thing I'm going to say on the topic is, like, as good as what we just saw was, that was a third of the year trying to figure it out in the putting, maybe more, maybe a half year if you want to say that.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming in the stroke, because remember when he won the Hero last year, he made a mess of it on the green on Sunday and was kind of, reversed, but no one else, went out and got him. And that's how he won the golf tournament. And that was with the blade. They were still trying to figure things out. That was post Ryder Cup, correct? Where, like, he'd just started working with Phil Kenny in the lead up to that. We're now a year on. It looks as good as we've ever seen it. He's got the putter that he's comfortable with. He's got a new stroke that he's comfortable with. To your point, he's still doing the things that he's good at from long range, but he's got something inside 8 feet that was just on fire at the Hero. So I think he's going to win a lot more than he did in 2024. Yeah. And we're talking about 2024 as being up there with the greatest seasons of all time. So I cannot wait to see 2025 Scotty. I think we're going to look back at this list and say, okay, where does that season fall?
Yeah, because I think just doing some quick math, there's been 18 players that have won 2 majors or more in the same season, Xander Schauffele being the 18th. So when we're going to start looking at Scottie Scheffler and legacy plays here, like he's going to have to find a way to win 2+ majors in the same year to, I think, be in the discussion of a top 10 season. Right now, I have it outside the top 10 when I'm looking at all the data that we just looked at. I think you have to still trump when a guy has won 5 times in a season in 2 majors. I think it's kind of at an equal ground of 9 wins and 1 major. Although all the events he did win, I wish we could go and look at the amount of wins these players have had and compare and contrast what wins they were on the PGA Tour. Because when you look at Scotty's, they were all against the best in these signature events, but it was a divided game. So that's another hole in an argument there too.
Well, Smylie, on the topic of putting, very excited about where we're going next in this interview, because we are about to have a conversation with Nick Venson, who is the founder and CEO of Swag Golf. Probably know them from their head covers. They produce a ton of cool putter and driver and wood head covers. And they're also in the putter production game now. Yes. A putter which you have been absolutely hooping with. The boss is you have that dialed right now.
Yeah, you've seen it live. I'm putting with that Boss 2.0 right now, and really like the putter. I'm also a big putter guy as well. So
tinker,
baby. I'm very particular, I guess, about my putters. Like the line's got to really match, the feel's got to be there, and so I've been really happy with the one I've had, and I'm also really excited for you guys to listen to this interview too, because one of my favorite podcasts of all time, which I'm not sure if you've listened to, is How I Built This. And I think it's so interesting listening to, CEOs and all of these famous companies that everybody's very familiar with, and how they have ups and downs of how they've, eventually got into starting their company. And I feel with this interview with Swag Golf, I feel, how he eventually got to a position to where he, felt like he had all, the arms and ready to go to create a company. And it's really cool what they've done in a very short amount of time. So I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this.
It really is. It's a story of taking something that was a childhood passion of Nick's and finding a way to build that into a business and scale that up, sweet. Which is really, really cool stuff. So let's get right to that. Smylie's conversation here with Nick Venson of Swag Golf.
All right, guys, welcome back. We have a great guest joining the program here today, and it's Nick Venson from Swag Golf, founder and CEO. And Charlie is going to be a little bit part of this interview here at the beginning, because if you follow our show, you know how bad of a putter tinkerer Charlie Hulme is. And he had an opportunity to tinker with some of the swag putters I got at the house, and he's seen, I've been rolling it pretty good. Charlie, what do you say?
You have been rolling it pretty good. You rolled it almost too good in our Tobacco Road video with, I think it was the Boss 2.0, maybe.
It was the Boss 2.0.
We were going to play in Birmingham, and Smylie had to physically remove me from his putter room because I kept putting with all the different swag putters he had upstairs. So I'm a big fan. I like that double wide blade. I don't know the name of that one, but that's got a really nice roll to it.
The Savage.
Yes.
The Savage.
Yes.
Yeah. Charlie's anything but savage on the greens, but we'll take. It's almost like you need to just kind of get a savage type of mindset, Charlie, I think is maybe what you need to potentially to adopt.
Yes, I very much enjoyed tinkering with the swag, the merch upstairs and the putters upstairs. So Nick, thank you for allowing me to live vicariously through Smylie's putter collection.
No problem.
All right, Nick. Well, let's get started just based on the history of your infatuation with golf, with putters, and just how you kind of got started in this game. I know that Scotty Cameron was somebody that you looked up to, and how eventually we got Swag Golf started.
Yeah, I mean, I fell in love with the game when I was a kid. I think I was 12 probably when I picked up my first golf club, and for whatever reason fell in love with like just putting and chipping, a short game. And I don't know why, but putters were always something I was interested in from an early age. And like 13, 14, I was already interested in trying to get like my first Scotty Cameron, and I wanted, I wanted that Terillium. My putter journey started because I told my dad I wanted to buy one of these limited edition Tiger Woods Terillium putters after the '97 Masters, and
we all got that putter. Look at Charlie's got it out. Everybody had it.
He thought I was insane. It was way too much money, and it was a bad idea. Well, I bought it and ended up selling it to somebody in Japan for a bunch of money, and that started my infatuation with I think I can flip these things, and started my own little business of putter flipping in the Scotty Cameron world.
Wait, how old did you start that business?
I was
resale Scotties.
I was 15 years old, 14, 15 years old. Yeah, this was 97, right after the Masters.
Putter entrepreneur right at 15 years old.
Yeah, this is pre eBay, pre all that stuff. I was on like the Golf Web classifieds boards. I was just like a name on a message board, but had access to stuff because I worked at a golf course and started buying and selling, trading with guys overseas. It was crazy.
And that led you to, like you're probably making a little bit of money doing this, I imagine, over this period of time with the resale of Scotty Camerons. But when did just the design of Scotty's, just putters in general, when did that kind of cue up something of like, hey, I not only want to sell putters, maybe my own putters one day. When did all of that sort of kind of come into for you, Nick?
So I was like, again, maybe 15 years old. I was like the go-to guy on the golf team in high school that everybody wanted. Hey, can you like fix this putter for me? Could you make it look nice? And I was just tinkering in my basement, making stuff for them. But I was fortunate that at my high school, we had some 3D modeling and AutoCAD classes. And so I just thought, why not? Let's try it. Let's see. And that's really how I got into it, thinking that, hey, I could design something that's really cool. I could make my own putter, but never really fully fleshed it out. It wasn't something that like I was driven towards in those early years. It was just something I was tinkering with because I happened to be a really good putter, and I was always interested in like what makes somebody a good putter. So I was working on different neck styles, all this sort of stuff, just swirly tinkering.
Well, you got a tinker that also on the screen, Charlie Hulme down there. He changes putters every month. But Swag Off didn't start overnight. Like this just didn't happen. And I want to just take me through your professional journey to get to Swag Off when you started in 2018.
Yeah. So, all through high school, like I said, I was kind of buying and selling. I kind of became known as a guy in the Cameron community that was able to get some really cool stuff because I had made some contacts overseas. So I was in this Cameron, collectors Yahoo group that was like the original Scotty Cameron fan club, and was buying and selling underneath my username, and just became a guy that people talked to. Was able to get some cool stuff, was invited to some of these special events they had, these Scotty Cameron appreciation days, met Scotty along the way. And just, I think that talking to him and talking to other people in the community, it became very obvious that I had an eye for it and could tell, some of the nuances that other people weren't picking up on. And I was very fortunate that, basically halfway through my college career, when I was at the University of Iowa, I got an opportunity to fly out to California and talk with this guy Rand, who wanted to become the biggest Scotty Cameron distributor in the country. Unfortunately, Rand passed a couple of years ago, but he was like the original real big time Scotty Cameron distributor. And I was tasked with running the Art of Putters, which is the store we opened in West LA to sell and basically work with all the high end collectors all over the world. Wow,
that's really cool. And also curious about this too, because, Scotty Cameron, this is like the time period that we're talking about is pre-social media. And I think just the infatuation, not only that you had, Nick, but that I had and Charlie had, and so many different golf geeks around the world, we fell in love with the brand with Scotty Cameron. Like it was cool. It's what everybody wanted. What did you pick up from Scotty and how he was able to create a brand in a time in which you really weren't able to market it like you are now?
Yeah, I mean, I think when people ask me, the thing that I always found most interesting was the ability for him to basically put a Circle T on anything and make it special, right? And that doesn't happen overnight. That's building a brand from the ground up, and between PGA Tour usage, between the limiting of the product that goes out. Everything he did, he was spot on to create that culture from a collector's community. And as a collector of things myself, I mean, I love putters. I love the golf space, but I'm into vintage pinball and vintage arcade games and watches and other things. So I'm a collector at heart of everything, and I kind of dive head first into anything I get into. I always talk about, there's like the 1% of people in anything. I don't care if it's fly fishing or pickleball or golf or cars, whatever it is. Like there's that 1% of people that just go crazy, right? And they want it all. They want the crazy cool stuff. They want to have something nobody else has. And I was like that. And I think that being able to be around Scotty Cameron putters at that time, that was like really the heyday of everybody on tour is using it, right? I mean, that was like, it was crazy. If you look through the top 25, I don't know, maybe it was 18 of the guys were using a Scotty Cameron at the time.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I was definitely one of them when I played on tour. And but at some point, Nick, you start to, you're a part of this big distribution center. But where do you take the next step of, okay, I want to grow professionally. I want to do my own thing, or I want to learn more about putter designs. And I read that Bentonardi as well was the stop for you.
Yeah. So after 3.5 years doing the Scotty Cameron stuff, I just wanted to move back to Chicago. It's really the truth. I'm from Chicago. I was out in LA, didn't know anybody out there. I loved LA, but at the same time, family, friends, everybody's back here. Decided to move back to Chicago and wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And somebody introduced me to Bob Bentonardi. And at that time, I don't want to say polar opposite, but in a totally different place than where Scotty Cameron was in the putter space, right? And I had a lot of ideas of what I thought could be cool to make, at that point, really any putter brand cool. I had my own ideas. I had what I thought collectors were looking for that wasn't being put out in the market. And Bob and I hit it off. And I spent 9 years running all the high-end tour stuff for Bentonardi. We were selling to Korea, Japan, US, collectors, events, socials, all this sort of stuff, and really building out a completely custom program for them. And even through that time, a lot of ideas just like fell on deaf ears, not because they were bad ideas, but because it just wasn't maybe what those guys wanted to do. And so I had my little black book of ideas that I had saved for all these years. And eventually I just said, I want to do these things. So there's no better time to do it than now. And I had a couple buddies who were pushing me to do it because they knew I had this idea for swag. They knew I had this idea to really do something bold and different. And they really pushed me to kind of take that leap.
So where did you draw inspiration mostly from just your putter designs? Was it a combination of what you learned from Scotty and Bentonardi? Or did you already have kind of what your picture was of how you wanted to create putters?
So, I'm not an engineer by any means, but I always was infatuated with the idea that you could machine a putter start to finish without having to polish it by hand. That was something that I was really adamant about in all my years in the putter space, and really nobody's doing it. Even to this day, really very few people are doing it that way.
Explain that to me a little bit more in depth, because I'm not familiar with how putters are made behind the scenes. I just get the putter; it shows up in my front door. When you say polished by hand, can you just explain the difference between that and the machine style you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, anybody who's at CNC machining a putter, it's starting with a block of steel, and you're milling a head out of it, right? The best, easiest way to explain it is if you if you're milling, we'll call it like a ping answer style head, right? You have a lot of hard edges, all of the top lines, the shoulders, where the sole meets the face. You can radius them, but at some point, you're basically just cutting metal, and you're then taken to a metal polisher. Someone who's living their job is based on making this putter feel soft, making all those edges blend. And these guys are extremely talented. I mean, they're amazing. But at the end of the day, I don't care if you've polished 100,000 putters or 10 million putters or 5 putters. If Smylie, if you went in, or if Tiger Woods goes in, or somebody goes in, it is very hard to polish two exactly the same way. It's very hard. I don't care how talented you are. It's tough, right? You can get really close, but it's tough. And when you're bending necks and doing those things, all those things have some sort of human element into them. And even the most skilled craftsmen can't really duplicate it 100%. So that's where I came in and said, why can't we program these things and spend the time engineering these 3D models and programming the CNC machine to literally machine this thing perfectly, so when it comes off and let's say Smylie wanted a 3.5 degrees, 3.5 degrees off the face, and he wants 1 degree of sole draft and wants the neck at half shaft offset, and 2 years goes by, but he wants the same thing, but now he wants to tweak it. He wants 3/4 shaft offset, as opposed to trying to recreate that, polish, do some bending, do some things. Let's program it so that I can make that tweak and then make exactly what he wants the next time.
How cutting edge is that technology? Because I don't know, maybe I'm just unfamiliar with how putters are built, but that seems to me to be pretty revolutionary when it comes to making putters.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to put it is I think most people in the industry were spending roughly 30 to 40 minutes machining a putter. We spend sometimes 2.5 hours, and a lot of that has to do with just trying to hit every surface and do things so that every putter comes out perfectly. The negative behind it is that when you're polishing, you can get away with a lot, and you can kind of cover up some mistakes you make along the way in machining. When you're trying to get a perfect head out of the machine, if one thing goes wrong, the head is scrapped. So it's a double-edged sword for us, because there's a reason our putters are expensive, because we spend a lot of time machining. But at the same time, I know I'm getting a perfect head when they come out right.
Well, let's start kind of right around, you move back to Chicago and you have this black book of ideas, right, Nick? And you're sitting there, you're thinking, all right, how do I take these ideas and create something that is disruptive, that speaks to a younger generation, that speaks to, pop culture, just people that, golf was stale. And so I imagine a lot of those ideas that you had was to an audience that was craving something like they experience in their daily lives.
Yeah. I had a lot of time in the car when I lived in Chicago, driving back and forth to.
I bet you did.
So I had a lot of ideas, and one of the things I kept coming across was, going even back to when I was a kid. Like, I was the first kid in our group of friends that got that UST Pro 4 shaft, that yellow and purple shaft that Jose Maria Thabal had in the Masters. It was like, I don't know if you remember it.
I remember that shaft, and I'm sure Charlie, you remember it too.
I got it because I thought it was cool, right? I mean, was it the right shaft for my 3-wood? Who knows what I was using at the time, a Callaway steelhead or something. I don't know, but it was cool. I wanted to have something different. And I thought the same way about head covers and putters, right? Like, why can't people just have like something really cool and different that nobody else has? And so when I started just kind of drawing all these ideas out the first time, whether it was the dollar bills with the sunglasses on neon green material, or even like our original skull logo, right? I mean, a skull can be menacing. It can be like a death symbol. Our skull's kind of got like a little bit of a cartoon smile. And then I threw a pair of sunglasses on it, and it sat there on my desk for a year before I really, thought about what I was going to do with it. And I had pitched some of ththese ideas in the past, and people were like, no, a skull's not good for golf. And funny enough, then like PXG comes out with a skull. So skull. So it all kind of coincided, but neon colors I thought would be awesome in the golf space. Nobody was doing them in 2018, like, at all. I just said, like, I want to be completely different than everybody else. And I think people in my age demographic would dig this stuff.
Yeah, and I think the marketing strategy behind everything as well is that you have these curated, unique head covers, and it's the way y'all did your drops and making something that you really like was hard to get your hands on. I'm sure it created another Nick Venson in the secondary market that's trying to go and resell stuff. But I think that what creates a need for something is people see it and they're like, man, how do I get it? It's like, well, there's a drop and it can sell it very quickly. How did that strategy come about? Because you could have very easily said, okay, we have X amount of head covers. This is our design and we're going to put it on our website. How were you able to come up with the idea of something really cool and then create a little amount of them to create, a market for them?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly looked at it similar to like I looked at the like the Nike Air Jordan space, right? I mean, the idea was, hey, we can come out with cool things, but we don't have to make too many, because if everybody has it, it's not cool then, right? I mean, it just naturally it works that way. How I came up with the original numbers, put my finger up in the air, test the wind. Yeah, I think this is a good idea. Right, this is a good idea. Let's see. I think 100 of these is the right number to start with, because we didn't know at the time, right? I mean, we started small with really small quantities, and I wanted everybody to have something cool. And I thought, hey, if you have one of 100 or one of 50 or one of 200, whatever the number is of what we're making, and that's the entire world, and I never come back and remake that same thing again, inherently it becomes something that, you covet. And whether you want to use it or you want to put it on the wall, it's become special that way. And I think everybody likes to feel special at some point. No, I don't think there's any better feeling than you walk up to the tee box and you got some cool head cover on your bag or a putter, and someone goes, "What the hell is that? That's awesome. I want that." And you tell them, "Well, you can't have one. They're gone," or you got to go on eBay to find one, or this is from 6 years ago. They haven't made them anymore. They're reselling for $1,000. Like it's an awesome feeling.
Yeah, and you guys have been so successful, and I'm curious. Since 2018, in the beginning, were there some downs in there? Was there some roadblocks that you experienced, or has it been a dream start for you guys?
I'd say every single year there's been roadblocks, mostly because, I started the business with 3 buddies. It was just the 4 of us in a room and didn't know where this thing was going to lead. And thankfully, we caught traction real quick in the golf space. And I think trying to grow the business to what it is today has been, it's been challenging basically every step along the way, because the assumption is that it's easy to come up with a new design every week. And now that we're 7 years in and we're coming up with new designs and new colors of previous designs and trying to bring new stuff to the market, whether it's with licensing or, it's just working with bigger partners now, the PGA Tour on Pro-Am stuff. Like, it's things that I don't think we expected we would be doing. But I love all of it, and it's trying to find the time to do it all, because I hate saying no.
Well, what are you most proud of from a design standpoint, from your creative background that you come from? Is there anything from a head cover or a putter design? What do you wake up with swag off right now that you're just very very proud of?
I think in all the years of doing it, the thing that I'm most, proud of and everything that happened was the opportunity to do the Ryder Cup captain's gifts back in 2021, right after COVID, was just such a cool opportunity. When Steve Stricker called me on the phone and said, "Hey, the Ryder Cup's in 3 weeks. It's at Whistling Straits. We got your name from Kessler Crane, who was Patrick Reed's caddy at the time, who was a big collector and fan of ours." And he goes, "You make the coolest stuff. Can you make us something as the captain's gift?" And, in 3 weeks, it's not easy. It's tough to get things done that quick. He made those red, white, and blue dollar bill covers and had the players' signatures on every cover and had Steve Stricker's signature on it as like the treasurer on them all, and built these beautiful wooden walnut boxes and with shredded currency from the mint in there, and like delivered them in person. And then, it was the captain's gift. It wasn't like we were the official cover of the Ryder Cup or anything like that, but delivered them in really COVID cool. at a gas station outside of their hotel at the American Club, because nobody was allowed into the bubble. And the next day we're, watching, and we're not sure if these are going to get used or if we haven't heard anything. And guys start walking out with them on their bags. And a lot of players had said how cool they thought they were. I think that was just a really cool moment for us as a company.
Yeah, and Charlie, he's our
not only. Do I have this right?
No, that's a 4th of July cover.
Oh, I pulled it from the swag Facebook, and I thought it was I was bad researching. That's on me.
Our stats department is always working very hard behind the scenes.
We do the best we can. Sometimes we miss.
Putters back there instead of doing his job.
Oh my gosh! Yes, he's probably
double exposed.
He has 4 different tabs.
Oh wait, hold on
now.
Hold on a second. I think I might have it for you.
Here we go.
Right, let's
live producing right here, Charlie.
If I get it wrong a second time, then I'm really in trouble here. All right, let's see.
I mean, this is why there's a 15-second delay on live broadcasts on TV, right?
Exactly
right. Okay, have I done better here?
Yes, you've done better there.
Oh yes, you love it when it comes together.
Man, look at that.
That's pretty sweet.
Can you zoom in a little for me, Charlie? Or is it? Are we looking at? Is this Instagram right here? Yeah, it's Instagram.
This department has very limited resources.
And that's
as good as we can do.
That's actually from the last Ryder Cup. So we've done them twice in a row now, and we're actually doing the bags for Ryder Cup this year and covers in the future Ryder Cups as well. So
you're doing the bags.
That was year 2. Yeah, we're doing all the bags for Ryder Cup for 25.
Sick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Man, that is awesome. So I assume you've probably had some conversations with Keegan on the design side of that, or no?
Yeah. We just finalized everything.
Let's go, man. I'm looking
exciting.
forward to seeing that. Hey, again, this is, the Ryder Cup is one of the biggest events, I think, in golf outside of the majors. And, to have your brand on, featured with head
Yeah, those
covers
original
and
box.
yeah,
There we
look
go.
at that.
Look at the stats department catching up.
Yeah, that's got to make you really excited, man.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's gonna be a fun thing to do, and hopefully we get to do it for many years to come.
Well, that's awesome. All right, so let's talk a little bit of putters. What's new? You know, I've been using the 2.0 Boss, and I've just been a big fan of it. I love the sight lines, easy to line up for me. But what are your favorites, and what are kind of what you have? You know, what are you most excited about?
Yeah, the Boss 2.0 is brand new. We're coming out with our first MOI putter in 25, which will be awesome because we haven't had an MOI in the lineup. Everything's just been a milled, more classic style head. But
I have no idea what that means. What is an MOI putter? Is that terrible? I don't know what that means.
Right. Moment of inertia. It's like a Spider or a Futura or any. Odyssey number 7, the larger mallets, basically, right? And it's just where you put the center of gravity, and we just never made one, and we're making one finally, and it's going to be cool. We're excited about it, and I think it's over time we just keep adding to our lineup. I was always as a collector of putters, I was always into the classic models, like the Ping Answer styles, Newport styles, right? But and in time, we're going to start making a lot of other stuff because people want to putt with things that aren't maybe those classic styles.
Yeah, no, I hear that, and you always got to make sure that your gamers has options and know that it can be replaced as well. So it's always nice to have a couple backups when it comes to putters. And one of my last questions when I ask you here, Nick, is about your company and when you feel like it got over the hump and that you made it.
Honestly, it was honestly probably the same year as the Ryder Cup, I think. I mean, that was the year that I really felt like we were on the map. People knew about us during COVID because we were able to manufacture and do stuff domestically just because we have all domestic manufacturing and we make pretty much everything ourselves. It gave us a little bit of leg up on the competition. And I think that during that time, people became enamored with everything that we were doing because not everybody else was able to put out stuff. And we were putting out new stuff every month, every week still. And, I think once we felt like we were known enough that we could get away with starting to, expand the brand a little bit. We dabbled in pickleballs, skateboards. People always ask me like, what's next for us? I think we're going to be doing more than golf down the road, for sure. But focusing on golf still is my prime, objective. We're having first time ever we're having putters in Golf Galaxy. So people haven't been able to try our stuff. Now they can go to Golf Galaxy, they can try it. They go to Club Champion and try it. I think that those are great opportunities for the brand to expand to new people. And I'm excited now that people for the first time can really go see and touch it and feel it as opposed to just taking a stab at a website drop.
I've always been convinced that whether it's Golf Galaxy or Club Champion is that when you get on that putting green, I think they create funnels into the hole. Because have you ever missed a putt on one of those putting greens?
I'll plead the fifth on it, but I agree. I mean, a lot of putts go in. A lot of putts go in when I'm testing in the store.
It'd be smart for them to create some type of funnel system. But I tell you what, Charlie, it's the best I always putt.
I almost switched to a broomstick after a little session in PGA Tour Superstore one time. Just
do you guys
based on how many I made going
do we make a broomstick, Nick?
We do not make a broomstick. I mean, we could make one. But we haven't made one yet. I'm not sure anything we make for Charlie is going to help his putting from what the sounds of it. So maybe he should just putt with a wedge or something. We'll see. Here's
an idea, like the custom Circle T that Scotty Cameron would put on his putters. I mean, the broomstick could be one of one. You just put a little broom in that bottom left corner of the putter, and looky there, we have an exclusive item that Charlie Hume only has.
the Circle C,
the Circle C, or the Circle great. B, either or.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, Nick, this has been a fun combo, man. I'm looking forward to see what you guys continue to do in this golf space and in this industry. I, for one, love the putters. Charlie's seen it firsthand, and now he's going to be right behind me. We're going to be hooping together. So I appreciate you, man, and look forward to seeing what you guys continue to do.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Really cool conversation with Nick Venson. The part of this I enjoyed the most was when Nick talked about collecting and reselling Scotties when he was a kid. My little brother David did the exact same thing.
Oh, really?
And I just think it's a really cool journey he takes to then producing something that has the same sort of marketplace effect. These limited edition putters and head cover pieces that you got to pay a pretty penny to go and find those on the open market. So it's a story of just like, how do you take something that you see when you're a kid and like scale that up into something that is, now a juggernaut in the golf industry. It's really cool.
Well, I think the game of golf now is become, more cool. It used to be where athletes and celebrities weren't playing the game. Now everybody wants a piece of the game of golf. And I think a company like Swag kind of matches, pop culture and the way the world is going a little bit with certain things. And I love their stuff. And I still feel like you're upstairs, tinkering with all my putters upstairs that I have. I can hear you rolling the golf ball now on my mat.
I need to find a way to get my hands. I truly hope I can get that Savage, that Boss Savage was or not the Boss, the Swag Savage putter. It was really nice. That double wide, it rolled for about 9 holes of Vestavia. So we'll see if I get invited back to Birmingham and that might go missing. I don't know, but no, really cool conversation with Nick. Really appreciate him taking the time. And go check it out. I mean, there are a lot of really cool pieces you can get right now on that website, and it's like these little capsules, so it's worth checking into. So that's it for us today on the show for all sorts of things. Bill Belichick in Carolina, little Tiger Scottie talk, and Nick Venson from Swag. The next episode you'll see in the feed on this Wednesday is going to be a big TGL preview that we're really excited to bring you. It'll coincide with I'll be down in South Florida at this point to do TGL Media Day. So you'll get that drop. You'll see some socials coming from the inside of the SoFi Center, seeing how that big old simulator is going to work and the green zone and the real bunkers. So we're really pumped to bring you that. We're having an architect on that is fired up about some of the holes he's designed. We're going to have a big player joining us as well. So stay tuned for the big TGL preview. Smylie, any final thoughts on that front?
I'm excited. Also, I think a lot of people don't know who their team is, and I will be having a hat drawing ceremony where I will pick my team and pledge my allegiance to.
I love that. Well, tune in for that. Thanks so much for watching and listening. As always, we'll talk to you right back here very soon.
I listen to this podcast. It's really cool. And
all of our lovely fans and subscribers, but make sure you like and subscribe.
It's cool to see what you guys are doing. I know golf fans appreciate it, but we do too, so please keep it up.
For all the good people at YouTube, like and subscribe.
You guys have some good takes, so I'm happy to come on and shoot the